Bitcoin is not very predictable. And going back again, if people are worried that we still have to go lower to hit the 4-year cycle bottom, which I think is a bit absurd, because why would it play out exactly the same as prior 4-year cycles if this cycle is materially different with ETFs and treasury companies and the like? So I think people are going to be very caught off guard. Faces will be melted, and they're going to see Bitcoin go, back to 120, 130, 200. And they probably will have missed out because they were so scared that Bitcoin was going to go lower than right now.
$200,000. No, that's not another crazy Bitcoin prediction. In fact, if someone had told you Bitcoin could jump from around $63,000 to $200,000 in a surprisingly short period of time, you'd probably laugh, especially after months of watching the market go absolutely nowhere. But what if almost everyone is looking at Bitcoin the wrong way? What if the biggest move of this cycle isn't waiting for better news, but is already being set up right now? Samson Mow believes Bitcoin's bottom is already in around the $58,000 level. More importantly, he explains why once Bitcoin finally moves, it may move so fast that most investors won't have time to react. This isn't blind optimism. It's a chain of events that most people haven't connected yet. And once you hear his reasoning, you'll understand why a $200,000 Bitcoin may be far more realistic than almost anyone believes. Let's hear Samson Mow explain it himself.
I believe we're on the cusp of invalidating the 4-year cycle. If we suddenly went parabolic now, or even in October or November, that should be a clear indication that the 4-year cycle is no longer holding. And I keep repeating myself that this is a very different time. This time really is different. If you look at all of the ETFs, all of the Bitcoin treasury companies, they're sort of shock absorbers. So when Bitcoin came down, the ETF prices came down too, and the treasury companies came down too, and it was painful. But now that they exist, they're sort of shock absorbing that pain and cushioning the fall. If they didn't exist, then maybe we would have had an 80% drawdown like in prior cycles. But I think it is different with them in the picture, and they're holding firm. Like some of them are not, but the bigger players are holding. Metaplanet is holding. Strategy is holding. Strive is holding. So I think they largely canceled that deep drawdown. So my theory is it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. People are scared of the 4-year cycle bottoming later this year in October, November, and they're preemptively selling, and that has kind of triggered another sell-off. The only thing that I could think that really impacts us was capital outflow into AI IPOs and capital raises.
You were expecting a capital rotation from precious metals into Bitcoin because, as we know, late last year we saw this impressive rally of precious metals, which was like this sort of peak. Now, as far as I know, you are expecting the rotation to happen from AI stocks into Bitcoin.
We haven't seen the precious metals rotate into Bitcoin because I think the capital rotated into that same bucket of AI and semiconductors. So I believe both are still likely to rotate into Bitcoin. If you look at gold, it's still doing quite well for itself at 4K. The AI stocks are seemingly fizzling out. Like if you look at SpaceX's IPO, they're down pretty high from IPO price. I think they're at 120 something. I think it's just a matter of the hype dying out and people finding Bitcoin again. And we have seen a massive amount of outflows in the ETFs. But what flows out must flow in. And this week we're seeing the capital flow back in. So it's just people need to follow and chase the latest thing. And then when they see it's not going anywhere, they sell and they go back to Bitcoin. So I think it's still early. We are going to see capital come back from metals, and we're going to see capital come back from the AI semiconductor trade.
I wanted to touch on something that I heard you saying in a recent interview about the AI. You were saying that essentially AI will annihilate altcoins such as Solana and Ethereum. Can you explain us how would that happen?
Well, we are seeing AI being used to find problems in altcoins because they have massive attack surfaces as they need all this functionality to market themselves. They're what Adam Back calls feature coins. They have a feature and they try to market that feature. One pertinent example is Zcash. I think they used Opus, not even Fable. They used like some lower level AI and they were able to find a problem where their shielded supply could be inflated, and they've supposedly patched that. But I think a lot of these projects have largely gone unscathed because nobody cared enough. They're too busy launching new projects. With the ease of AI to find these 0 days and vulnerabilities, it may flip the other way and it would become more profitable to attack these coins and exploit the vulnerabilities than it is to launch a new project, because launching a new project, you're going into this sea of, 90,000 altcoins and meme coins and all this stuff. So I think it might end in this altcoin apocalypse in the near future. You need strong diamond hands to hold Bitcoin, and I guess not everyone can do so. And that's okay. I mean, if you don't have the conviction, then you shouldn't be in the game. Ultimately, Bitcoin treasury companies and even individuals hodling Bitcoin, it is a game of conviction and maintaining low time preference. If you want to quickly make money on Bitcoin, that's going to be challenging, especially in a down market. But the down market offers the biggest upside. So any new treasury company launching now gets a massive advantage over all the incumbents. You'd be buying Bitcoin at 60 some odd $1,000, 10,000 below MicroStrategy's average cost, and several tens of thousands below others. So I think it's just a timing issue. A lot of people launched these treasury companies when things were great without thinking ahead on what happens when the market takes a downturn. But we are seeing conviction in those that have remained. Strategy is adjusting. They're going for more of an active management strategy. And you see Metaplanet acquiring a securities firm and launching Metaplanet Securities. But the most important thing is you look at the players that are still holding their ground. They are still accumulating Bitcoin. Maybe not at the same rates, but they are still accumulating and they are still building. And bear markets are for building.
What do you see as a primary catalyst for a bull run that could happen relatively soon?
So I've already said publicly that I believe the bottom is in. I think that last stretch to 58 was it. The 58K gang, they were lucky and they're right. Then we saw 58K again, and that is the bottom. But as for what brings us back up, I think it's just a matter of time. You're really fighting against time if you're a bear and you're hoping Bitcoin goes lower. Because if you think about all the players in the space, they're sort of like massive battleships out on the ocean. They take time to turn around. When there needs to be an adjustment, they can't turn on a dime and start buying, but they can make strategic adjustments over a period of weeks and months. And if you look at what's happening, that's exactly what they're all doing. They're adjusting and adapting their strategies to be able to continue to buy, strengthening balance sheets, leveraging assets, making strategic acquisitions. I think orange juice from Lynn Alden is an interesting one too. It's a new model, and they're fortunate to be able to come into the market at this price point, in the 60K range. So I think we just have to let the market become bored and stop panicking. In many ways, the market is sort of like a wild animal. When you have a wild animal caught in a trap and you want to help it, it will thrash around viciously and even hurt itself because it doesn't really understand what's going on. But once you free the animal, then it looks at you and it sits there because it doesn't know how to react, because everything was okay all along. And we're already starting to see signs of that. So SATA from Strive, it's already getting close back to par, or the target price of 100. They made their adjustments. They adjusted. I don't know if they adjusted yet, but they're thinking about adjusting it so they don't necessarily need to issue new SATA shares at $100. So it makes it harder for those that want to short to do so because they don't know what SATA will do. And I think what every action that Strategy has undertaken to strengthen their balance sheet and encourage STRC to go back to par is also working too. But everything sort of works in tandem. So I think as SATA returns to par, you're going to see STRC return to par too, just because people see, okay, this model is not broken. Everyone is capitalized for three or more years of dividend payments. And, I'll just come back because there was no reason to panic all along.
So what do you think? Is Samson Mow seeing something the rest of the market is missing, or is a $200,000 Bitcoin simply too optimistic? One thing is certain. Bitcoin has repeatedly done what most people once believed was impossible. It went from being worth virtually nothing to becoming one of the world's most valuable assets. And every major breakout was met with doubt before it happened. Whether Samson's timeline proves correct or not, understanding the forces driving Bitcoin adoption, institutional demand, and global monetary shifts could be far more important than trying to predict the next daily price move. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Bitcoin reaches $200,000 this cycle? Or do you think the market has another surprise ahead? If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We break down the biggest Bitcoin, crypto, and macro investing stories to help you stay ahead of the market before everyone else catches on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.